Welcome back to Our Life. Beginnings and always. Family. The sun warmed your skin from its place in the sky, and you closed your eyes and joined the mix of the heat with the pleasant breeze that drifted past you. You and Lee had spread out a blanket on top of one of the hills behind your house, and you had been relaxing there for a while now. Lee had come over earlier in the day, and while a range of activities had been discussed, from staying home to heading down to the beach, a picnic on the hill had been the choice you both settled on. A small spread was laid out in front of you. Some bottled water, soft drinks, as well as chips and sliced fruit. You sat up and reached for a snack, listening to Lee talk away about the musical she had gotten to see a few days ago. It was unbelievable. There was singing, dancing, and crazy stunts, and it was all done live in front of my face. Maybe one day we could go together. I gotta see more shows like that. You smiled at Lee's enthusiasm, knowing how much she enjoyed singing and performing. And she was good at it too. You had gotten the chance to hear her sing a couple of tunes, and you knew she put a lot of effort into it. You also liked to sing, but you weren't very good. You also liked to sing and had talent of your own. You didn't like to sing, but you had been told you were good at it. You weren't good at singing, and that suited you fine. You also liked to sing and had talent of your own. You also liked to sing, but you weren't very good. You also liked to sing, but you weren't very good. That didn't stop you from doing it, though. I wonder if maybe we could put on our own show. Think of how fun it'd be. We could perform our parents and ask our friends and some other people to come and watch too. It'd totally work. Yes, let's do it. I don't know about that. The idea gave you stage fright. Sure, I'll give it a go. That's not a good idea. It'd be embarrassing. Sure, I'll give it a go. It wasn't something you had really thought about before, but if Lee wanted to do it, then you could at least give it a shot. Lee clapped in excitement and bounced on the balls of her feet, beyond happy that you were on board with her idea. I'm gonna sing! Do you wanna too? Or maybe do something else? I'll sing too. I'll dance. I'll write the song. I'll do some kind of stunt that goes to the music. I'll pick the outfits. I'll do the makeup. I'll make the backdrop or some kind of stage. I'll pick the outfits. That's a great job for you. You always dress so fashionably. Is there anything else that's coming to your head? One more thing. I'll do the makeup. Good idea. You'll be great at that. Is there anything else that's coming to your head? No, that's all. The two of you ran back to your house to grab the supplies you needed, dodging your mom's amused questions. before heading back out to the blanket to get started. You set your makeup kit down, scanning the various products and envisioning how you wanted the design to look for the show. Lee and you discussed the plans in detail, settling on a song first, and then practicing our parts for the show. The afternoon passed quickly, the sun dropping lower and lower in the sky, and after having thoroughly worked out how the show was going to go, you decided to take a break. Oh, you know, we should have invited Cove to watch us practice our show. He could tell us if it's bad before we put on a real thing. That's smart. You guess that would have been okay. I'm glad he didn't see. You said nothing. That's smart. We should ask him to watch us later. Okay. It's too bad Derek isn't in the neighborhood today. I like him. Yeah, he is a good person. I really like him too. He's okay. He's kind of boring. I don't really like him. Yeah, he's a good person. I knew you'd think so. But speaking of boys we like, what's the relationship status between you and Cove? Is it good? Yeah, it's good. I don't know. You blushed and said nothing. You shouldn't gossip. I think things are alright. Yeah, it's good. Ah, I'm so happy for you. But like really, are you gonna be telling him you have a crush on him anytime soon or what? I don't have a crush on Cove. I'll tell him soon. No way, I'm not telling him. I'm pretty sure he already knows. You weren't sure if you wanted to tell Cove or not. I'm pretty sure he already knows. Pretty sure isn't sure. You should declare it to him. You mumbled something incoherent and she gave you a pointed look. You knew that he has a crush on you too. It's obvious for him. It's obvious for you. Why not just do it? You didn't say anything, wondering about the possibilities instead. The two of you talked a little more about Cove, amongst other topics, and you found that it was nice having someone to speak with about these sorts of things. Finally, you both decided to pack everything up and head back home for the evening. Lee talked excitedly about the show as you did, and you thought back on what you had already accomplished for it. You could definitely do with a little more practice, but what you had so far was a solid foundation for the performance. Upon walking through the front door, you were met by your moms and Elizabeth hovering around each other in the living room. Tension hung thick in the air as the three of them turned to you and Lee, frowning slightly. You had interrupted something. Exactly what? You weren't sure. Wow, who died? What's going on? You looked between them, but said nothing. Hello? What's going on? Your moms looked at each other, wondering which one of them was going to speak first. Eventually, Mom cleared her throat and spoke. We're just having a talk with your sister. The room fell quiet again. With no one quite knowing what to say, you felt incredibly awkward, but the silence didn't last long. You don't have to stop just because those two are here. There's no reason to try keeping it a secret. Elizabeth was mad, with her arms folded defensively over her chest. but your mom nodded in agreement with her. Elizabeth was asking about her parents. Her biological ones. The world spun around you at the news. You couldn't understand why was happening now. When you glanced at Lee, she shuffled her feet uncomfortably, as though she didn't know if she should be there or not anymore. You didn't know either. Your moms had always been open and honest about the fact that neither of them had given birth to you or your sister, but the details hadn't been fully explained before. It made sense that Elizabeth didn't know a lot about her biological parents and wanted to know more. You just hadn't ever thought you'd accidentally stumble into it. Elizabeth looked at your parents expectantly. She wasn't going to let the unintentional interruption derail things. We don't want to keep that information from either of you. It's your right to know your past, but we did want to wait until you asked us to hear yourselves. Well, it's happening now, so... Your mom shared a nervous glance, and Ma took in a quick breath before speaking again. I adopted you from the Philippines when you were just a baby. Elizabeth dropped her arms, her eyebrows shooting upwards in surprise. Wait, I wasn't born here? No, you weren't. You could clearly see that your sister was appalled by this information. You struggled even more with what to do or how to react. Am I going to have to pass some tests to even be a citizen? No, you were adopted into the country. We took care of things. You're already a citizen. You have nothing to worry about. I followed all the laws when it came to bringing a child into the U.S. Nothing can be held against you. Elizabeth sighed, placated with the information, but still far from happy. Who were my parents? As people, why did they put me up for adoption in the first place? Ma softly put her hands over Elizabeth's shoulder, trying to provide some support before she gave her the answer. I'm so sorry, sweetie. Your parents were reported to have died. They didn't go into details on the specifics of how, but you were an orphan. I wish we had better news for you, Elizabeth. Elizabeth was torn between emotions, her eyes filled with tears as she threw her hands in the air, settling on enraged. Great! So I can never meet them, even if I wanted to. Not that I could have anyway, since they lived in another part of the world when they were still alive. Elizabeth turned her back on you and your moms and stormed off, sprinting up the stairs into her room before anyone could stop her. I have to go and talk to her. Mom immediately started to follow her, but Mom gently held her by the arm and shook her head. We should give her a little space to process it all. Your mom's head hung low, but she stopped walking. With Elizabeth now gone, the two of them seemed to remember you and Lee were still standing awkwardly off to the side. I'm sorry you had to see all that. It's not how I expected it would have happened when the time came. But since it's the topic of the day, Jamie, is there anything you'd like to ask? You deserve to know after all. Lee patted your back and gave you a supportive look. No, I don't want to hear. Not right now. That's perfectly fine. You can always ask later if you ever changed your mind. You smiled at them gratefully. It was nice to know they wanted to be open with you about the topic, even if it wasn't a talk you wanted to have now. No one seemed to have any words after that. You went up to your room. You needed to stay here with your moms. You wanted to get out of the house. You wanted to see Elizabeth. You wanted to see Cove. You wanted to see Cove. More than anything, in that moment, you wanted to see Cove. No one could be there for you the way he could. I'm gonna go out just for a little while. I'll be back before it's really late. Your mom's nodding and understanding, trusting you to make the best call for yourself. Lee's footsteps echoed from behind, and you knew she was following you. Can you stay, Lee? I want to go by myself. Oh, okay. I'll wait for you here. But I really hope you'll be alright, Jamie. Once outside, you strode across the street purposefully, Cove's house set in your sights. After you raised a hand to knock on the door, it only took a few moments for Mr. Holden to answer it, giving you a broad smile. Hi, Jamie. Looking for Cove, I bet? Yeah, that's right. Cliff turned and whistled down the hall in the direction of Cove's room. Hey, sport, you have a guest. After calling his son, he turned back to you and dipped his head. He'll be here any second. As promised, it didn't take long before the footsteps echoed down the hall, and Cove's head of green hair appeared before you all. He looked past his dad to see you standing there and smiled, pleased at your visit. Hey, Jamie. Hi, Cove. Can you hang out now? He gave you a placid look, smile, one you were all too familiar with. Sure. You kids take care, alright? I'll be around if you need anything. Mr. Holden shuffled back into the house and closed the front door, giving you some privacy. Cobb tilted his head at you, his bangs falling into his face as he did so. What's up? I needed to talk to you. Cove's forehead furrowed in concern at your words. Well, I'm here. You can tell me. Can we talk somewhere else? You felt uncomfortable huddling around the entrance of Cove's house. That feeling didn't seem to be a problem, though. Yeah. Cove took you by the arm and encouraged you along behind him. You followed without protest. You headed towards the hills where you and Lee had spent the majority of your day. Things seemed so different then, only a couple hours ago, and you wondered how everything had changed so drastically. You took a seat in the grass beside Cove, who bent his legs and rested his arms on them before he turned to you again. Can you explain everything to me? You nodded softly before taking in a heavy breath and launching into the story. Cove sat quietly and listened attentively, nodding every now and then, or taking in a sharp inhale. It took a long time for you to relay the details. Dozens of stars were pinpointed in the sky as the night wore on. Silence settled between you, and Cove sat quietly for a moment, contemplating everything you had said. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet, drifting through the night towards you. Jamie, I'm sorry about what's happening with Elizabeth, your parents, your family, everything. He stopped suddenly, and you got the impression he was struggling to find more to say. You know, Elizabeth and I haven't ever been super close, but I don't think she'd want her family to break up or drift apart, even if she complains about it sometimes. He smiled at you a little, and you could tell he was trying to be comforting. And your moms definitely don't. It doesn't matter if you're not blood related. You're definitely family. I can see that, and I hope you can too. You cried in relief. His words made a lot of sense. You knew your sister well, and you knew your family would always be important. Even as the tears slowly rolled down your face, that thought comforted you. You stayed up on the hill together a little longer, looking out over the ocean and the stars that shone brightly above it. After talking about the situation with someone who wasn't directly a part of it, you started to see things in a different light. Above all, you were glad to have Coach's support, and to know you could count on him, if you needed it. Hey. The sudden voice of your sister behind you made you jump. You saw her standing a little way away. She walked closer and you didn't quite know what to do or what she was planning on saying. Would you mind going? I want to talk to Jamie. You can come back. It's not going to be forever or anything. Coach seemed equal parts concerned and skeptical. Leaving now wasn't a concept that thrilled him. You can't ask that. You nodded your head in agreement. I want to talk to you too. Oh, then we're on the same page. She made a little move along, gesture with her hands, and it was settled. You waited until the two of you were alone before fixing her with an inquisitive look. Elizabeth folded her arms, looking you over. Did moms tell you about your parents too? I didn't want to know. Elizabeth nodded in understanding, her face solemn. Why did you want to talk to me? Elizabeth raised an eyebrow at the question, as though the answer should be obvious. I was worried about you. I was the one who brought it up, but I made you deal with whatever was left when I was gone. She sighed, glancing upwards for a moment before settling on you once more. I wanted to ask you what happened without everyone breathing down our necks. Thank you for thinking of me. She stuck her nose up a little at that, but her smile was soft. I'm okay, Elizabeth. It didn't upset me. How are you allowed to be that mature? The lighting spirits in her were quickly gone as she slipped back into a scowl. You have to be born in the U.S. to become president. What? You had never heard of that dream of hers before? She noticed her bafflement and continued. I get I was never going to be president, but it just feels weird. Having stuff taken away, not even getting a chance at it. I don't like having to know that when I was born, I was going to have a completely different life. So different I can't even think about what it looked like in my head. I could have spoken another language, lived away from everything I've ever seen here, had someone else as my sibling. And then my parents died, and I was adopted. And the life I got became a totally new thing forever. I can't go back to what it was, even if I wanted to. A heaviness settled between you and the person who became your sister. I feel like that too. You knew exactly how she felt. You knew exactly how she felt. It was a confusing feeling to have lived one way for as long as you can remember, but not having it be what was originally yours. Elizabeth watched you seriously. She was still trying to make sense of this to you and herself. I don't know why today was the day. Nothing came up to make me ask the question. It was just something I've had in my head for a while. When it was just me and Mom's in the living room, I just kind of said it, finally, and there you go. She shifted from one foot to another, relaxing her stance just a bit. She also spoke more gently. Learning about them and what happened doesn't change how I feel about our family, Jamie. She smirked, fixing you with sharp eyes. I'd already figured a long time ago that Moms weren't our biological parents. That wasn't news. You kept listening to Elizabeth. Nothing about the family I was first born in would have made me decide that this wasn't my family anymore. If you had hoped you'd be free of my big sisterly status, don't think you're so lucky. She bumped her shoulder against yours playfully, her lips tilted at the corners. You'll always be my little sister. You smiled softly at her. You hugged her. It took a few seconds, but she gave you a quick squeeze in return. You'll always be my family too. You'll always be my family too. Chuckling, she seemed pleased with how the conversation had gone in the end. Ready to head back home? It's been a long day. You gave her a nod. Come on, you two. Let's go. You walked home together in a comfortable silence down the well-worn street. The familiarity of it all felt nice. When you stepped through the door, you found your moms quietly sitting together at the kitchen table. Their heads snapped up, and they got to their feet to meet you, Ma giving you a careful smile. We're so glad to see you. Everything is alright. That's wonderful, sweetheart. Really wonderful. Ma then came over and wrapped her arms around you and Elizabeth, giving you a tight hug. It didn't take long for Ma to join in, putting her arms around the both of you. We really couldn't have asked for better kiddos. We love you. More than we could ever say. Moms! You smiled at their comfort. You were so glad your moms were alright. You're smooshing me. You were so glad your moms were alright. I love you too. You let them hug you for as long as they needed, and it was a nice moment shared between you. They both pulled back eventually and grinned at the two of you, and you knew then that you all had each other, and you always would. Hey, I hope you're alright. Bea came up towards you, a soft smile plastered on her face. And are you okay, Elizabeth? Elizabeth rolled her eyes and huffed a breath, and you knew she wasn't used to showing her vulnerable side. I'm doing fine. Lee nodded, though you could tell she didn't quite believe her. Well now, since we're all here, how about we do something together as a family? That sounds like an excellent idea. We should have some fun before the night's over. I'd love the sound of that. Okay. Cove looked a little bashful, likely over being included as a part of the family, but he tried not to pay much attention to it. Why not? You hid the smile that threatened to tilt your lips, knowing that Elizabeth must have been in a good mood if she hadn't even teased Cove for being part of it. And no matter what she could have said about it, you wanted him to be here. He was someone who was really important to you. Who's got a suggestion? It should be something we can do here in the house with everyone in the same room. You suddenly remembered the show you and Lee had been working on earlier. Maybe we can do our show. You were bummed you never got to do it after all that. You weren't so keen on that now, after what happened. Maybe we can do our show. A show? This is the first time we're hearing of this. I'm intrigued. It'd be amazing if you put it on for us to watch. Oh, yeah, I need to see what you've cooked up. That'd be cool. You smiled at Lee, who returned the gesture while bouncing on her heels in excitement. Take some seats and we'll get everything together. Your moms collected the chairs from around the dining table and set them in a row in the living room, where there was enough space for the show. While they did that, you and Lee quickly gathered the supplies you needed and rehashed the plan one last time. You listened through the song you had chosen one last time. After that, you quickly applied the makeup looks you had practiced earlier. Finally, you changed into the outfits you had picked out. When the two of you returned to the living room, everyone was sitting and chatting amongst themselves while they waited. The group quieted down when you and Lee stood in front of them on your makeshift stage. Lee was buzzing quietly with excitement beside you. You were pumped for the show. The time you and Lee had put into practicing was worth it. You were ready to go. Okay, so welcome to our show. We only came up with it today, but we promise it'll be good. Thank you for being here tonight. Your moms gave you a thumbs up in encouragement, ready for the performance. Then you nodded at Lee that you were ready to begin. Lee took in a deep breath, waiting the few beats it took to get into the song, and started singing. Your outfits gave a special element to the performance. The makeup you had done on yourself and Lee made the show feel much more like a real production. When the performance was over, Lee took your hand and hers, and the two of you bowed deeply together. Everyone gave you a round of applause and cheered for an encore. When you straightened yourself up, you were happy to see that even Elizabeth was clapping for you. Bravo! Bravo! You are so talented! Your family rose from their seats and came over to congratulate you more directly. You were beaming from ear to ear. Cove was the first one to approach, stepping up to you and Lee with a smile on his face. Nice job. Thank you. Hey, were you the one who did the makeup? Yeah, that was me. Cove smiled, content over his guess being correct. I thought so. It was good. You couldn't help but feel flattered that he could recognize your talents so easily. Your parents gushed about how great everything was and thanked you for sharing it with them. Elizabeth was complimentary in her own way, although she did describe the show as cute, which you knew she meant as kind of kiddie. You laughed it off, however, and you were just happy that everyone had a nice time. In the moment, you couldn't have been more pleased to be a part of the family you had. Alright, that's all I have time for. Thank you for joining me on this episode. Mwah. Peace out. Bye-bye.